Dawn of War Definitive Edition. The Orks represent pure aggression, overwhelming momentum, and chaotic swarm warfare. They are a ravenous green tide of biologically engineered killing machines. They trade defensive fortifications and tactical discipline for brutal close-quarters combat and explosive snowballing numbers. The Orks do not care about careful positioning or long-term safety. The faction controls the pace of the match through absolute pressure and psychological terror. Their infrastructure and economy incentivize constant attacking and endless battlefield looting. These forces excel at rushing enemy lines and locking ranged units into melee meat grinders. They maintain higher speed and damage capabilities by banding together into massive rowdy crowds. This playstyle systematically overwhelms opponents through endless infantry waves and ramshackle, heavily customized vehicles. However, mastering them requires balancing this intense aggression against an economy that completely stalls if you stop fighting. The primary strength of the Orks is their unique war system. As more Orks gather in a localized area, a global energy pool constantly charges up. Once full, commanders activate a map-wide roar that instantly boosts movement speed, armor ratings, and melee damage for the entire army. This turns basic infantry into unstoppable battering rams that break through any defensive wall. Furthermore, the faction features a highly adaptive scrap salvage mechanic. Whenever any vehicle or building is destroyed on the battlefield, it leaves behind physical wreckage. Ork builders harvest this scrap to instantly upgrade their own ramshackle tanks. They can also use it to build specialized heavy war machines at a fraction of their normal resource cost. Their late-game heavily armored cyborgs and giant walking scrap titans are exceptionally terrifying. They boast massive buzzsaw arms and chaotic rapid-fire rocket arrays. They love crashing directly into entrenched base defenses. Their sheer volume of attacks causes immense psychological suppression to nearby enemies. The breakthrough potential of a fully accelerated Ork charge is entirely unmatched.
They shooting us!
Forward the teeth! Don't touch the teeth!
They shooting us!
The Orks rely heavily on closing the distance because their ranged weaponry is notoriously inaccurate. They do not possess precise sniper units or reliable long-range laser networks. The tech tree forces commanders into building crude towers to unlock higher unit tiers. An Ork force must constantly build these totems to expand their army capacity. Advancing to higher technology tiers unlocks heavy walkers and elite bosses, but it requires a massive, vulnerable territory footprint. Opponents who recognize this structural reliance will target your outer towers. This forces the Ork commander to retreat and defend static positions instead of attacking. If the enemy successfully demolishes these towers, your maximum population limit instantly drops. The faction completely lacks fast tech options if their main camps are raised. Every single forward tower must be fiercely protected to maintain army size. A disrupted tower network often leads to a severely downsized and dismantled mid-game strategy.
Who called for the bother? My boys ready, boss! My boys ready, boss! Our boss is not breaking!
The Emperor guides my way!
Forward the teeth!
The enemies of man stand before us!
The Orks' incredible offensive speed comes with a brutal physical price. The most glaring weakness is their low armor rating of their basic infantry. Their basic boys run into battle completely unarmored and exposed. Entire mobs will evaporate instantly when subjected to heavy artillery, concentrated machine gun fire, or high-tech energy weapons before they ever reach melee range. Because they rely on strength in numbers, the Orks suffer heavily from psychological suppression and area of effect weapons. The faction possesses exceptional melee power, but their units must stay grouped up tightly to maintain their leadership bonuses. If an opponent uses heavy flamethrowers or psychic blasts to panic the crowd, the Ork formation breaks. Fleeing Orks lose all their combat bonuses and deal significantly reduced damage. Progress is completely reliant on keeping the green tide moving forward. If the initial charge is halted by high damage walls, The entire army can stall out and die in the open field.
This is what we like, lads!
Adding to the Orks' vulnerability is the volatile nature of their core crowd size mechanic. If a mob drops below a specific number of living models, the survivors lose their fearless status. They will immediately panic and break formation mid-combat. Mismanaging these squad numbers can cause an entire front line to melt away during a prolonged assault. Additionally, while their scrap-built vehicles deal immense damage, they are highly unpredictable. Their weapons feature wide variance in actual damage output. A commander must constantly send out builders to scavenge wreckage in dangerous territory. Otherwise, you cannot afford your late-game mechanical upgrades. The Orks demand immaculate aggression management. A commander must constantly balance the deployment of fragile speed buggies and the timing of your global while raw. Cheap infantry screens must be thrown into enemy firing lines perfectly to absorb initial damage, so the heavy melee hitters can safely close the distance. Ultimately, the Orks are a faction of absolute momentum, overwhelming numbers, and chaotic violence. They offer the highest melee rush damage, unique battlefield salvage mechanics, and the fastest snowball potential. But without constant pressure and careful management of your population towers, their unarmored troops will quickly fall apart under heavy gunfire. For those who master the relentless forward charge and the joy of a massive green tide, the galaxy is yours to stop.